Hey guys, Justin here from Cedar and Stone, and today we are talking all things education. Sauna is this cultural gift that is better experienced, taught, learned, and passed down more than just bought and commodified and protocoled. That's so much of what we're seeing in the US today. So we are here to do a deep dive on how we are training, guiding, and teaching entrepreneurs and you on all things sauna. I'm here with Tom, our Education Development Manager. Tom, welcome to Duluth today.
Thanks, Justin.
So Tom's usually in New York City, and Tom, we brought you back here to Duluth to HQ, but you are across the country and working with entrepreneurs and folks interested in sauna education from across the country. What are you seeing as folks come to you? What are the kinds of folks who are showing up?
We see people reaching out to us from, all over the country. So like I'm in New York, I will often, people would be surprised that I live there, but we see people, a lot of people from the Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. That's not surprising, but we also see a lot of people from Austin, Dallas, Houston, Seattle, Oregon, Washington State, Vancouver we're starting to see Kansas, St. Louis, Florida, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia,
all the states,
the Northeast,
all the states.
Yeah.
So
we put together a map the other day.
There's a map. And I think in some ways, one thing that we often want to help people understand is sauna isn't a cold weather sport. And there are some places that have cultural background, that have historical sort of immigrant background down. The Midwest has some sauna culture, and we're seeing it now pop up in all these places because of its health and wellness benefits. Talk a little bit about maybe some of the ways you're seeing those entrepreneurial folks coming to us. What are they looking for? What are they wanting? What are they hoping for?
So there's a couple different reasons I think people are getting into it. There's like a classic kind of luxury, I want to relax version of it. There's a lot of people who want to unplug or like get more in touch with their bodies, less in touch with technology. There's people who are coming to it. There's a lot of people coming to it. It's very not surprising when people come because of health, wellness, Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman. We run marathons, or that guy we have somebody who runs ultra-marathons, like people like who are athletes like this, who are really looking to kind of heighten their fitness. And then there's people who are looking at it as like a third space, as a community center, as a place sometimes not alcohol centric. Wellness, this word is it can be complicated, but like betterment maybe. These are a multitude of the different ways people are coming to us of maybe one reason that they're getting into being an entrepreneur who opens a sauna-based business.
Yeah, and so then what would it look like if I was one of those folks? Because I'm coming in, I have a big vision and idea, and maybe it's biohacking and recovery studio, third space, maybe it's spa. What are the things and resources then I'm looking for that we continually are sort of creating, providing, and supporting folks with?
I think a lot of people just don't know things. So they don't know what they don't know. They've never been in the industry before. They've either come from some other part of maybe the wellness industry, or they're coming from some other industry. They have some type of skill in business, or they have some like really specialized skill. Like we actually have a lot of nurses come to us who are like kind of disheartened by healthcare, and they're like, let's get into preventative health. I'm going to start a business. They come to us to really figure out, what is it that I need to know? I know that there's a lot of things that I don't know, and they've maybe looked and researched and tried to piece together a bunch of different things, and they've found challenges along that process. So I feel like a lot of times what we're offering is what would you say if I put it back to you?
Yeah, I mean, back to me as the guy who was the entrepreneur in that seat, and sat for years developing business plan and process and pro formas, and
finding the guys,
building team, right? That can be isolating. It can be lonely. And so I think another thing that we're trying to do is connect people with folks that not only have the right knowledge and the right skills, and they've solved some of those problems before, but also accountability, support, encouragement to make sure that entrepreneurial journey doesn't feel lonely, because it is. And when it gets lonely, it gets harder, and it gets harder to actually get across the line and open the doors. And so I think those are things that we're very much hoping for and trying to do, and I think for a lot of folks really succeeding in saying, hey, come in and work with us for 6 months or a year and develop your vision, develop the business model, work out the entrepreneurial components. That's your lane of genius with how to make things run smooth. And then they start serving their community. Then the hard problems of actually how the business works and runs kind of come into play. Tom, talk a little bit about our Sauna Business Accelerator program. We've talked broadly. We offer a lot of services. We offer design service, we offer consulting, we offer kind of a big program that is SBA, Sauna Business Accelerator. Unpack that a little bit for folks who are watching.
Accelerator is a program that we offer that's a 12-month container of our support, is what I would say. And so people come to us trying to answer a bunch of different questions, or they're working to open, they have this idea that's very clear to them in some ways, and they want to see, a lot of times they're trying to see, is it feasible? Is it profitable? Through the program, what we really work to do is clarify the vision, clarify the feasibility, and ideally get it to open, which not all of them do. Some people realize through a process that actually maybe this is not what I want to do. But we are trying to get people to do them. Like as much as possible. We're trying, if you're going to come in, we want to make sure that you're like really serious about this, which, starting a business can be serious business. It's like having a kid almost.
Yeah, you're birthing something that doesn't exist into the world, which does take a level of crazy and or commitment and or vision. And I think just a little spice onto that is, so often we see people come in and there's these points where it feels risky to say yes, and they think it's going to go away. They think they're going to write the business plan and they have all the certainty in the world, and yes, it'll make sense to them and their investors and whoever's kind of bought in to make it happen. That level of risk, that appetite for risk, or that ability to handle it actually never goes away. It just keeps getting bigger sometimes as the business grows, or as you sign the lease, as you buy the property, as you invest in the cold plunge system and the commercial sauna and hire your first staff. Like, all of those are examples of, wow, there's another layer of risk now I'm tolerating. I think as I speak to folks who are probably watching along and sort of saying, do I fit that? It's really, we're looking for folks who are willing to do the hard work to assess, should I take that next step of risk? And some folks come in not knowing how much the investment's going to be because they don't have a clear vision. Are they going to build a big, immaculate bathhouse? Are they going to try something really small and community focused in a studio, or even in sort of a mobile rentable option? We see a spectrum of business models, and we're helping folks vet what's right for you, what's right for your level of investment, what's right for kind of the thing you're trying to do for your community.
Or what I would say to that is, like, even a lot of what we're trying to engage is people who know the value of people who've gone ahead of them, because there are some pretty expensive mistakes that you can make in this type of business. It's not like a Etsy shop. We're not starting like which also costs money to start. But this, we're talking much more startup costs than a lot of businesses to, you have to get a sauna to have a sauna business. That is not going to be $12 or, So when you're talking about risk, I feel like what we're looking at is like, where are you going to take the risk, or how can you make sure that when you're making these bigger decisions about some of the investments and decisions that you need to make, like that they're informed, or that you have a group of people that can say, like, you can say, is this right? Like, do you think this is a good idea? Like, I'm about to spend $30,000. Like, it's worth it to have people in the room that not only have done it before, but are also figuring out similar things to be sharing information. So that's part of what you're talking about in the community. And I feel like one thing that you say, especially one part of the Accelerator program that we do work towards people producing, is a business plan. And ideally several rounds of a business plan that we will give feedback on. And one thing that I love that you say is that you're doing it for yourself first, so that you're gonna put together a plan, you're gonna put together the financials, you're gonna put together the ideal client, you're going to do all the work to get this thing together, for other stakeholders, for community board people, for the real estate people, for the banks maybe, for all
the fire marshal.
The fire marshal.
Insert your constituent that needs to get buy-in from you.
Right, but the most important person that you say is that, we're doing it for yourself first, so that you are confident that, like, actually you know what risks you're taking, or you know where you need help and extra support, and how to kind of pitch that to people?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really important, and it's really fun to get to work with you, Tom, and work with all the folks we are getting again and again. There's sort of a movement happening with this interest in industry, and it happens in a lot of different ways. So I'm glad you brought up these multiple different types of folks who are entrepreneurial, thinking about sauna as third space or wellness practice or recovery center. And we are working with really talented, really high-functioning individuals throughout North America right now who are saying yes to us to be in the room with them and just help them get across the finish line. If you were going to invite somebody into that room, Tom, what would they do? How would they get involved? I think it's like talking to you as part of that.
Yeah,
what are some of those steps?
Come talk to me. I would say come talk to me. We'll have a call. We'll talk about kind of your idea and talk through kind of really get clear about actually where you are in kind of getting ready to execute a version of it. I think a big thing that we do in the program, or even before you come into the program, is to decide like, hey, is the vision that you want to do, are you really attached to that level of the vision? And what do you need to be able to do, kind of a big ballpark, very broad strokes, like what do you need to be able to do that vision?
Yeah.
But where it gets really complicated, maybe not complicated, but where we do the hard work in the program is, okay, if this is your ultimate vision and you've got these resources, how do we keep the integrity of your vision? Yep. Get really clear about actually why you're doing this vision, not just because it's a trend and you want to get in on it and whatever, but what is actually going to keep you motivated? Because that big vision, similar to your big vision, one of your big visions, is to open a floating sauna.
Yeah, and then we did that.
And then you did that,
Yeah.
but that's not where you started.
No.
And so to start, we might have to humble ourselves because maybe it's actually more important to actually just get people moving through a sauna or get the actual experience of doing a sauna. Because you might get a sauna or a smaller version of a sauna and realize, actually, I'm not interested. We've seen people get saunas. They got the sauna. They started hosting people in it, and then for whatever reason, they're just kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's really...
So it'd be way better to buy a mobile sauna or build a little sauna, get the experience putting it together, and sell that than to go in on $1.5 million bathhouse and then open it and then realize like, I don't know.
It's hard to sell the bathhouse.
It's
So in terms of how that all works, I mean, we're very much behind folks coming in with those ideas, helping them think about a realistic level of investment, realistic assessments on revenue, sales goals, profitability, and then helping them think about scale and how do you go to start with whatever V1 is and to move towards that longer term vision that you're really trying to do in the world. Because again, I actually think you talked about the folks that went the exit way. I think it's also just as common for folks to come in and achieve those initial goals. And if their vision isn't big enough, you just outrun your vision in the first 18 to 24 months. And you have to be committed to something bigger than that. And there's a version of doing that hard work on the front end that can really orient you to what you're trying to create, what business you're trying to open, and how you want to do that.
Yes, because another thing that happens is we see sometimes is that way bigger opportunities come when they start actually taking action than maybe people are ready for. And so that question you ask all the time is like, what if it works?
Yeah. What's going to break if it works?
Because it might work really hard. So do you have the capacity? And that's another thing that we're working on with people. And so vision's really important so that also that you're not, I feel like a lot of people are getting into this business because they want a level of freedom, or they feel like they want, because A, they want to be in business for themselves, or two, there's something very human about this business and that it's really serving people or doing something good in the world. But we want to make sure that that latter one, I think there's an interest in between us that like you're really staying true to that so that whatever you're doing in the business is not just about your economic freedom, but it's also really that you're actually truly providing something in the world that's good, authentic, helps people.
Tom, thanks for being who you are. Thanks for caring enough to ask hard questions to entrepreneurs and keep them accountable. You guys, if any of this is interesting, I want you to go check out all of our education opportunities, whether it's a monthly webinar that's sort of a little bit of an appetizer on what we're up to, or diving into the Sauna Business Accelerator with Tom and our team of faculty who are working with entrepreneurs all over North America for this. Tom, thanks for being here today, and
You're welcome.
Guys, we'll see you on the next one. We'll see you soon from Cedar and Stone.